You're going to tell me about the car and the 64 Ludwig?
The what?
You're going to tell me about, we're in the car.
Yeah.
And you're telling me about loading the car, the drums into the car.
I have a 2008 Holden Amiga sedan, not a station wagon. I used to have a station wagon, but I bumped it into other cars so often. So then I got the sedan, and I had those little beepers installed at the back.
Yeah.
So that now you can hear. But the boot is really huge, and I have a 1964 Ludwig. The only kit I've kept is that, and the only cymbals I've kept are the original Zildjians. But when I was in Adelaide playing only about 3 months ago, a guy gave me some, are they Zillies? Beautiful cymbals. The trouble with my hi-hats, the Zildjian hi-hats, which are 60s, they're too heavy.
Yeah.
They're really loud.
Yeah.
And so is the ride.
Yes.
And this, which is a 60s ride, these are really crisp, very light, beautiful cymbals. I was so lucky to get them because I honestly, I knew I had to do something about it, but I didn't have the will.
Yep.
Because I'm very, 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 I just love the old kit.
Yeah.
With the 64 Ludwig, the kick drum fits in the back seat, and I've got the original cases, and the floor tom and the hang tom fit in one case, and then the traps and the snare, and I have the stool is separate to everything. I don't put that in the traps because it's a real throne. It's heavy.
Yeah.
And I just use that as a separate piece. The cases are so old that the straps on them, the leather straps all were broken and worn, and what I was using was those cable ties.
Yeah.
And then during COVID, some guy, a drummer here in town, Jess Champa, a percussionist, he told me how there was this guy who did luggage fix, and I took them to him, and he put all these beautiful straps around my original cases, and now they're just as good as new. You do get very attached to your equipment. I can make that drum, I've got the white Remo Ambassador heads on all the, and I tell you, I can make those toms and the snare. It's an acrylite, the original 64 Ludwig acrylite. I make those sing, because I know how to hit them, and so often when I'm touring, I can't take the kit, and you're playing other kits, and if they have those heads on them that are transparent, I can never make those sing. Like they just never sound the same. When I touch my Ambassador heads, I just have to touch them, and they make a beautiful tone. Yeah. And I think what we were talking about just playing around the kit. If you do a lot of playing around the kit, you really do start to think about everything percussively. It's so great. Yeah. Really glad I've done it.
Oh, yeah, because there's melody and there's texture and there's so much going on.
Yeah, I've been working on a few pieces. I've been working on a solo from Buddy Rich, which is pretty simple, actually. It's a mixture of singles and doubles. But what he does is just have so much speed. Nowhere near his speed. We'll never get near his speed. Yeah. He started playing when he was like 3. The Sandy Nelson Let There Be Drums beat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's not tricky again. It's at the end of it, you've got doubles and singles to get the accent on the end. But again, it's the question of speed. And then I just start putting, mixing up paradiddles and making up different things that go around. See, I don't use cymbals at all.
Yeah.
I need to bring the cymbals back, but I wear hearing aids now. My ears are so fucked from using, crow cymbals. And in particular, my left ear, I think, because I always had the monitor on my left ear, that's where they put the monitor.
Yeah.
And, years, like decades of playing on stages with that right on your ear, I think that's really... So the hearing aids work great, but, I don't often have them on stage because mostly I'm working with a click now.
Yeah.
Not on all the songs, but you've always got the little pods in your ears for clicks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're a fan of working with a click. Were you talking about that before?
I love it. I love the click, but I tell you, in the 80s, when they first started introducing me to that on the recordings, I hated it. And I went to this drummer, who was a New York drummer called Gary Chester, who played on all of Dionne Warwick's stuff, and Gene Pitney's, amazing guy. And I had lessons between London and New York with cassettes, and where he had me playing to clicks. I had to play these parts to clicks, and I had to send them back to him. And I started getting into it, but I don't think it was till possibly the 90s and that I started really loving the click. And it wasn't until the new century that I began to use them live. You know, it took me a while to start using them live, and then it was so easy once you start using them live. But the difference between my generation and the young generation about using clicks is that the young generation, the whole band is using not a click, but they're using
the in-ear monitoring.
Their ear monitoring, because they're playing there's so many parts being played. See, we never did that. There were no extra instruments. You know, there were no kind of sequence parts, and so they've all got clicks in, and I think that makes a really big difference if everyone's got a click than just the drummer.
Yeah.
Because you know when you're playing to a click, and you really can hear the guitar speeding up.
Yeah.
And you're just going, what the fuck? What are you doing? Just stop. You know, and you're trying to pull them back. You've got the click there, and you hear how they're pushing. I did this show, 16 Lovers Lane show, where we had on stage, we reproduced the album 16 Lovers Lane with a variety of singers. We had like 5 guitars on stage. And I tell you, we were rehearsing Streets of Your Town one day, and I honestly could not believe how they were pushing the beat. And I stopped, and someone turned around to me and said, "Stop speeding up." You know, and I was so upset. Like, I just screamed, "I'm trying to keep you back."
Yeah, but we get blamed.
Yeah,
either way.
I'm trying to keep you back.
Yeah.
You know, you're speeding up. And because you get a mass of guitars doing that together, they're just going to follow each other. It's terrible. And that was great, though, because it confirmed to me, and still does, that will happen.
Yeah.
And then, so when you hear them start speeding up, really try to pull them back, you know, or stop if it's a rehearsal and say, "Okay, guys, you're speeding up." Because frankly, it's mostly men on guitars.
Yeah. Yeah, and gradually turning up the volume as well.
Yeah,
when they think you're not looking.
Well, that's actually one of my biggest challenges at the moment, and that is playing softly. Yeah, so I've really been working on that. So I'm playing with Rob Snarski of the Black Eyed Susan. He used to be the Black Eyed Susans, his solo act. He plays with Shane O'Mara and Graham Lee and me, but often with just me. And I've had to really work on playing quietly. Playing quietly is a skill.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Isn't it? It's a real skill. Like Brie Van Ryck is so good at playing quietly.
I think it's that orchestral percussion kind of training. That control, maybe.
Must be about
sometimes
control.
Have to play very quietly. You're playing with a piccolo or something, you know.
Yeah, must be. I watched videos of me, like just before I was watching a video of me, I had a gig in London last April, and there's something's just appeared on YouTube, and there's a shitload of guitarists on stage, so I know it's a small room though, but you can't tell that from the video, and I'm banging away, and I'm thinking, fuck me, you know, you've just really got to. So that's going to be my thing over the next 2 years, is to really learn to play a lot more softly. That's years of playing on big stages, you know, like just so bad for you playing when you get old, and you suddenly
and bad for your body and
playing on little stages.
Yeah.
You know, you really got to really think all the time. Am I too loud for the room?
It's good.
I know.
I wanted to ask you if you want to talk about, you know, you're playing with some really young artists now as well, like Alex Astronaut.
Yeah. Well, I'm not playing with her anymore. She got my God, she got the best drummer from Brisbane. Yeah. A young woman, and a bass player from Brisbane.
Okay.
So she had to do that.
Yeah.
She had to get a young band. I was her first drummer, so I was brought in
Yeah.
as her first drummer, and she had session players with her.
Mm.
But the idea always was that she would move on to a young band,
Okay.
and she was living up that way, and that's why she got a Brisbane band. But this drummer, I went to see her the other night play with Alex, and she starts with a drum solo,
Yeah.
and it was tremendous.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
We were talking about Alex.
Oh yeah,
You
so
were her first drummer.
so I played with her for 2 years probably. We did like a version.
Mm-hmm.
We did Mr. Blue Sky. That was fun, and that was an all women group of really interesting musicians. It was really fun.
Yeah.
But we did all the festivals. That was it was just great, you know. I just loved playing with her.
Yeah.
And I'm playing, as I said, I'm playing with a woman called, a trans woman called Cassie Judy, and she does a kind of, it's the start of a cabaret act, I think.
Yeah.
It's in development.
Yeah.
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 Oh,
Rob Snarski.
Yeah.
So
You
Rob
talked about Rob a
Snarski's,
little bit.
he used to be in the Black Eyed Susans, and they were David McComb from the Triffids and him, and he writes these beautiful, very melodic. He's got a really gorgeous voice, slow ballads, and sometimes it's just me and him, and sometimes it's Shane O'Mara and Graham Lee, and it's great when there's a band. But he does pick up bass players in the different places we play.
Yes.
The songs are really beautiful, and as I mentioned, for me it's been learning how to do long, slow fills. You know, it's very hard to do a slow fill, particularly over a bar. And what I've been working on is mixing singles and doubles, which is kind of outrageous because, you know, if you listen to Hal Blaine in Burt Bacharach songs, for instance, whenever they do their long fills, they're always like, you know, like that. Whereas I'm not doing those kind of very minimal fills. I'm going more like, you know, and that's quite a lot of stuff there. But if you're doing it really slowly, you can really lose time.
Yeah, and you lose momentum.
And you lose momentum. So I'm constantly trying to think of fills. You know, how can I make this fill just wonderful? Because when you listen to Hal Blaine and Burt Bacharach and those kind of 60s beautiful fills, they're just divine. You know, I try to copy them, but often they're around a triplet.
Yeah.
And so, because there's always a slight swing.
Yeah.
And that makes it different. Because if the music isn't swinging, and a lot of our music doesn't swing.
No, well then you can't really feel
you can't really whack in a swing,
No.
Yeah. So that's what I was discovering.
Yeah.
It's quite cool.
And you said at the moment you're doing solo practice a few times a week. You have a studio.
So I go to Soundworks and have a deal with them to go in any day during the week at 9:30 and just take a spare room. So I just got a set fee on that. So I've been doing that 3 times a week now for about 18 months or so.
Wow.
Yeah, and I go for at least 90 minutes.
Wow.
I don't have a break.
Yeah.
I used to be really exhausted and then couldn't do anything else for the rest of the day. My strength is just, so strong now.
Wow.
You know, I'm 71 now.
Yeah.
So, you know, like I'm very, very strong. My hands are really strong. Oh, I'll tell you what else I've been doing. I don't know if you're aware of the guy on YouTube called Tommy Ego.
Yes, yeah,
okay,
yes.
so
yes.
I've signed up to his Great Hands for a Lifetime, bought that.
Yes.
And I've been doing
I've done some of those.
Yeah, I've done
the easy ones.
Yeah, yeah, well.
The beginner one.
Yeah,
and the intermediate one.
Yeah, I'm up to the intermediate,
wow.
but
it's good.
My flams are shit.
Okay.
Yeah, my flams are just terrible, and there's so many different flam variations.
Yeah.
You know, flamadiddle and the flam tap and the flam acue and like that. You know, my flams are just terrible. I think it's because I never did a flam ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that somehow or other flams passed me by.
Yeah.
I've really been into the paradiddles and the paradiddle combinations, the drags, oh God, it really has made my hands so strong.
Yeah.
And particularly the doubles, getting the doubles fast.
Yeah.
And bringing them down into a press roll, that's so hard to do all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think COVID was good for drummers in a way because we were locked away in our homes. And if you use the time well, that was to start doing courses. They paid off.
Yeah.
Tommy Ego's, his character, and he's very macho and it's all about speed. But if you don't buy into the macho speed stuff, and you just do it as content.
That's what I do. I used that warm up for quite a while when I was teaching a few years ago. The beginner ones with my advanced students. It's great.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
It's so clever. Yeah. I also bought the Groove Essentials, but I haven't even looked at it. I have to say I've got it, but I haven't even looked at it because it's enough to be doing his hands. And then working on, when you're playing with people, you've got to learn their stuff and you've got to practice to their recordings. I mean, with Rob Snarski, we'd never rehearse. He's in Melbourne. The whole band's in Melbourne.
So you will learn your parts at home and then you just go and gig.
Yeah.
Okay. But you've known each other for a long time?
I've known him since he was a young boy in the 80s. He's a lot younger than me, but I've known him since he was a long time. But I mean, it doesn't really matter, but it does.
It's a different way of working.
Yeah, we're going to record soon, so.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I'm going to go down to Melbourne and we'll record. Shane O'Mara is also a producer.
Yeah.
What a beautiful guitarist.
Yeah.
To play with him is like floating, just floating on water.
Do you have people like that? I know I do. Just a handful of people I've met in my life where we just really click musically and it's easy.
Well, here's one. There's not been a lot. Here's one, and Mark Moffat, who who's in Nashville now, and he's my age, and he played around forever. Playing with him was like that. It's when they're really beautiful rhythm players. Yeah. They can be really creative too, but they're always playing beautiful rhythms. He was just absolutely gorgeous to play with, and every now and then you meet a bass player who lifts you, but I don't think there's a lot of that.
No, I feel like there's just been a very small handful of people for me, maybe even just two.
I think I've got two as well.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It's really interesting. Yeah, very special relationships.
Yeah. I had a really great relationship with the Go-Betweens, but that was because we played together for so many years. So you do just begin to play organically together.
Yeah.
The rhythms are all just locked in.
Yeah.
You understand their guitar parts so well, and that really was great. But that also had its problems because after I came out of the Go-Betweens, I really couldn't play any other style.
Yeah, okay.
And I really had to start working on trying to find other ways to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, frankly, that's all I've been doing since then.
Yeah.
Trying to find other ways to play.
Yeah.
Because 10 years in one band, that's a shitload of time. And when you're on the road all the time. Okay, we done?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah,
Don't say anything else cool now.